welcome if you're just joining us. Tessa and Alex are still with me. In a moment, we're going to be taking your calls on doctors' strikes. Is it time to give consultants their 12% pay rise and put an end to this walkouts? Alex, what do you think? I mean, we're at a stalemate now where we can't afford for this waiting list to get any longer. No. Is it time for the government to just pay what they need and move on?
I think it's very, very difficult. I mean, a lot of people out there were sympathetic with the junior doctor strikes, very sympathetic with the nurses' strikes, less so when it comes to the consultants and this coordinated action. I mean, when you look at some of the statements being made, Rishi Sunak will get more of this if he doesn't meet our demands. It doesn't affect Rishi Sunak. He's married to a billionairess and probably has private medical insurance. What it matters to are people like my parents who are retired and elderly. And if something happens to them and they have a fall or need surgery, I would be desperately worried. So I'm very concerned about this. I think there's a much wider debate that needs to be had in general about the structure of the NHS, about the funding of the NHS, about the model, without it becoming all this hyperbole. But what I would say to the consultants, their argument is, we're striking because we're understaffed, because we don't have the resources. Well, do you know what? You going on strike is not going to improve that anytime soon.
All right. Well, look, that's what Alex thinks. I'm pretty sure Tessa might not share the same opinion, but we'll find out, I guess. But I want to find out what you think. Do you think it's time for the government to just make it go away by paying what they need to pay and getting the doctors back into the hospitals? 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need to let us know. Now, whilst you're dialing in to speak with us, let's have a look at today's top trending topics. Tessa must proceed very carefully, but the Met Police is trending. Chris Kaba is trending. Why?
This is the story of a man who was shot during a police operation in Streatham Hill, London, on the 5th of September 2022. That said, Met police officer is to be charged with his murder. Some of you may think, how did this story pass me by last year? It came to the public's attention at the same time as we were remembering for 12 days the late Queen. I remember very vividly being on a television show, and I was embarrassed that about 4 or 5 days into the mourning period, Chris Kaba's relation, I think it was his cousin who'd come to talk about this, was beneath us in the running order. I felt it was an editorial mistake. It was a very important, and it didn't get the oxygen it needed at the time. So I'm glad now we're seeing justice.
It's getting the attention now. Met police officer to be charged with a murder. The Lake District has been trending, and we looked into that. And that is because there has been a petition that has been launched to save the Herdwick sheep and maintain World Heritage status in the Lake District. There they are. I mean,
sweet. I like
they look good, as a sheep would go. But there is a big petition to give them their World Heritage, not World Heritage site, but to give them their place in World Heritage status in the Lake District. And again, this goes back to the idea of sort of maintaining, conserving, being able to protect countryside, and there you go.
What's brilliant here, I don't know if you read this morning, it says they approached the King.
They did. They wrote to King Charles.
And
the sheep themselves?
Well, virtually.
Not quite. I think a representative of the sheep.
And the King was like, hands off this, can't comment, because of course environmentalists would really rather we didn't eat sheep, wouldn't they?
There we go. No, the King was approached by Dr. Hollingworth, who started the petition. Alex, Prince William is trending.
He is in New York, and he's announcing the winners of his Earthshot Prize. And he's actually being quite clear about saying the prize isn't a philanthropic thing. He says we're doing this because the vast majority of these solutions are commercially viable. Well, I'm glad someone's helping pour money into, innovation and things to help save the world. I fully support this. And it's actually kind of nice. There's a big argument going on, isn't there, about whether this is meddling in politics by, the royals talking about climate change. Well, guess what? King Charles has been doing that for eons anyway. He was ahead of the game in all of this. But it's just, it's a moment of pride, I think, when we see our royals going over, especially William and Kate, who do an absolutely sterling job, going over to America and, just looking good on the international stage.
Isn't there it's a bit ironic, isn't it, that we've got the Prince of Wales out there at the United Nations kowtowing with everyone with his Earthshot, and we've got Rishi Sunak hiding away in a back passage of number 10 Downing Street, rewriting the rules on Greens. I mean, talk about
the juxtaposition. But in that respect, maybe it helps Rishi Sunak do that because William's out there instead.
Well, that makes it quite dangerous almost, I think, when
the walls have always been
it's a cover.
Politicising
Yeah, but the walls have always been deployed in like that, actually, in order to sort of, shore up bilateral things. I mean, these are two separate debates, really, but it's quite nice to see. We've had the sort of run of Harry and Meghan at Invictus. It's quite nice to see William and Kate out there doing their thing.
OK, well, look, we're going to move on now. Your calls on Dr. Strike.